Author David Popp had a very long family history of model railroading, and when he had the time and space, he created a testament to a line of the 1959's era of Connecticut.
My dad was very much into model trains, and growing up, some of my earliest memories are of being in the basement with him as he was working on his HO scale layout. My grandfather was also very much into model trains. I've been around model trains my whole life. It's just what I do for fun. Pretty much my layout is modeled after the New Havens line along the Naugatuck River in Connecticut. I've set it in the year 1959. Part of the reason why I modeled this particular line is that it's very rich in history, in industrial history, in railroad history. And it also doesn't hurt too to have an actual prototype to go back to when you're looking for information about, well, you know, how does this industry work? I've got a location, I've got a place in the world that I can go look and find out, okay, well, this is the type of traffic that they had. These are the types of passenger trains that they ran. When I first came to Model Railroader, I was living in a small apartment, and so there was no room for my big HO layout that I had had previously when I was teaching. So that had to all be torn down and put away. I wanted to keep model railroading, and so what I did is I designed a small layout that could fit in an apartment easily enough, but yet be stacked up into a closet so it was out of the way during normal apartment use. And I started the idea of writing a series of articles about how to build a layout in your apartment and still get your security deposit back, which was kind of the theme for it. Once we had built the house, that little layout was finished. I had written several articles about it, and I thought, oh, well, it's time to move on to something else. Well, the little layout just kept hanging around, and I kept coming up with ideas on how to expand it and make it bigger. And so I started building it in sections, basically. The layout is currently broken into about 5 sections because there are individual zones of where the work has occurred. This is the primary section of the layout, the first piece. It took about a year to build it from start to finish. This has got some of the more bucolic kind of Connecticut scenes to it. The little street area here is one of my favorites with all the little shop fronts and the different people and details and things like that. I had had an N-scale layout when I was a kid back in the 1970s, and N-scale was in its infancy then, so there wasn't a lot available for it, nor did the equipment run very well. But coming back to it in 2002, when I started the layout, I was amazed at all the wealth of detail of different figures and vehicles and all of that was available. So it has made modeling very enjoyable. While there are a lot of details that are commercially available, sometimes you have to build your own too. The rowboat in the river over there, for example, with the guy fishing out of it, that's modeled after a boat that my grandfather had years ago. It was a wood boat, and I just cobbled it together from small pieces of styrene and then painted it to look like his boat. So you can make them too. Section 2, connecting to Section 1, has a nice industrial area for the town on that side, but more importantly, it's got a staging yard on the back side, and that's where trains come and go for places off of the railroad. So next to that then is Section 3, which is this piece right here, and this includes Waterbury, which is the hub of the railroad. So during an operating session, trains will come up the rail line, they'll come into Waterbury, they'll be broken apart into smaller trains and then sent out to go switch the industries back down the line and north and other locations. And then all the passenger trains that come in to the railroad too come to Waterbury, and most of them turn around and then go back out. So it really is kind of a key point. And then in addition to Waterbury, this piece here really counts as Section 4. And it's not very big compared to the rest of the railroad, but it's got some very important industries. In particular, this is the Waterbury Gas Works. Was a key industry in the town of Waterbury at the particular time that I'm modeling. This is the newest section. This is a branch line that runs from Waterbury all the way north to Winston, Connecticut, and that's where the railroad terminated there. The buildings on this section, for the most part, are fictitious. They look New England-y, and the industries are named after real industries on the railroad, but for the most part, the buildings are put together with kit bashing, where you take several different kits and you cut the pieces together and make something completely new out of them. A few buildings on here are close to what their prototypes should look like. The Torrington Station, which I'm standing next to here, is a rough facsimile of what the Torrington Station really looks like. This section is finished well enough to be able to be operated. So when my operating crew comes over to run trains, you know, things look reasonably finished, but there's still trees that need to be filled in on the hillside here. There's a whole industry that's missing from this corner. There should be a cement plant there. I have parking lots and things that don't have the finished scenery work done on them yet, and I have whole buildings that are still in raw plastic that need to be painted and weathered. So this is it. This is the entire Naugatuck Valley as it stands in its 5 sections at the moment. And that's the beauty of N-scale, is because we can fit all of this stuff in. And I still have plenty of room in the rest of my basement to add more, so we can keep going if we need to. In hindsight, building the layout in sections or piece by piece is really a wonderful way to get started in the hobby. You've got the enjoyment of, I'm just working in a small section so I can try things out, and if it doesn't work out too well, I can take it out and I can replace it. But the other thing is that it gives you a microcosm to hone all your skills in before you start working on a bigger railroad. So working in small pieces but having an idea where you can grow it to make it larger and larger is really a smart way to do it. So if I had it to do over again, this is the way I would have started.